What's up, everybody? It's Wombat. Um, so big news today in New World. There's a huge dev update out. It is 42 minutes. Um, it's a lot to watch. It is a ton of information. I have a ton of notes, and I'm going to try to get all this information to you relayed really quickly, save you a bunch of time. So the big news is the season pass. Um, it's going to be free or pay. um, they say it's going to be about $20 a month for the pay level, but that no content is blocked. So you're just going to have different, cooler rewards on the pay track. So if you have an armor skin that you get on the normal track, on the pay track, it'll have like a fire glow to it or something like that. But again, they said very specifically that nothing is going to be locked. Now, when they talked about the seasons, they're going to have a new story quest line going, and there'll be a new one with every season that comes out. So this will be every 3 months or so. And in season 1, they're going to be doing a new dungeon. It's called the Imperium Forge. It's going to have a new monster type called Forged. So you're going to have to create a new, armor set for that and weapon set for that. Just like Angry Earth or Ancient or anything else. They said they've added a bunch of new mechanics to the dungeon and new mechanics to boss fights that haven't been seen yet. They're adding gear set storage, which is absolutely huge, but you're going to have to unlock it with the season pass. So while they said no content is gated, they then go on to say that you are going to have to unlock your gear sets by paying for the season pass. So that kind of sucks. They're adding the Firestorm Heart Rune in the next update. And then Brightwood and Weaver's Fen are getting the city updates that a bunch of the other cities got. They're changing the main quest storyline there, adding some new mechanics, new story for people that like to do the questing. The upcoming events they talked about were Rabbit's Revenge, so you're going to kill a bunch of corrupted rabbits again. The Spring Bloom event, which that's going to be the big one. You're going to get a whole bunch of new armor sets and patterns and everything, and those things, there's always one or two of those that just sell for a ton of money. The Halloween life staff patterns are selling for like 15,000 gold a piece on our server right now. So tons of money to be made there. The winter patterns are selling for like 1,000 gold a piece on our server. So look into what you get off of those ones and find out the best ones and buy as many as you can, then hold them until the event's over. Make some money. There's going to be a Fury of the Spriggan Mega Boss world event that they do. It's not just going to be a go kill the big boss thing. There's going to be some new mechanics you have to do to make that work, but I'm guessing it's going to be not a whole lot much more than one big boss fight. So then they got into the PvP updates and the balance changes. So enemy spells are going to have a red circle around them, so they're not changing the color of the entire spell. They are just changing and putting a red circle around it. So not quite as clear as you might hope, but still it's there. There's no timeline on this one, but they did say cross-server OPR, and then in the timeline they say that's coming in Season 2. OPR changes, they're going to do changes to scoring. They don't want damage to be the top thing that gets you points now. They want it to be more focused on point capture and defense. So you're probably going to get more points for like holding the fort and taking points. Doors, because this is probably the most tone-deaf thing that they have done in this entire update, and it's so stupid. But they're making ranged weapons do less damage to doors, because the fucking OP doors in OPR that can hold off 15 people from one person having mats needed to be buffed. So they buffed doors in OPR. One thing I really did like, though, was they're looking at possibly adding shields on the doors going into Baron. So no more ranged people sniping Baron. I think that's a much needed change. they talked about the PvP reward track, and they're going to be upping the quality of the items you get, and they're going to make a guaranteed good item like every 5 rolls. So it's going to make it way easier to get weapons and armor with the perks that you want, which is going to be huge for people that do OPR all the time. They're adding a new arena map, but they're not going to do a rotation. They're just going to replace the old arena map, and then they said after a while they may change that. For people that do wars, they're doing Influence version 2, because they're trying to make grinding Influence less grindy. So what they're doing is they're only going to let you grind Influence at a certain time in a certain area. So Weaver's Fen Influence push may only be active on Wednesday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. or something like that, to force everyone on the server to go try to push the same areas and force you into world PvP. Scheduling it, I think you're going to exclude some people who would normally be doing things at different hours, but I do like that they're trying to push people into world PvP and make pushing of territories more of an event and more of a, you need your whole guild to show up because there's going to be everybody else there at the same time. They're also adding towers that are going to let you capture them, and the more towers you control, the more points you get for your turning in of quests. Balance changes. This is what everybody's been waiting for. Musket, they said they're adding inaccuracy to the weapon. So basically, it's going to take longer to line up your shot than it would for like a bow. So you're not going to be able to just roll shoot, right? Like your bullet may go astray. They're not taking away hit scan though. Hatchets, sorry hatchet crutches, no more defy death. They specifically said there will be no more get out of jail free card. And great swords, sorry guys, it is too sticky, they said, and it has too much homing, and they are reducing the homing on greatsword. They did not say they're touching the damage on it though, which is surprising. Equipment changes. We all know they said previously that light is going to have less. The perks are going to do less in light armor, so shirking forward and resilient they talked about specifically. So those are going to be nerfed down if you're in light gear. And then ranged PvE, your PvE weapons for like bows and muskets in dungeons are going to be more powerful. You're going to get a 20% buff on your Bane instead of 14, and there won't be any elemental resistances. So if it's a fire dungeon, you don't have to worry about having a fire staff when it's fire week for the dungeon. Then they moved on to the fire staff, and they said the fire staff feels underpowered, and it's going to be getting a full rework. And they said that they may look into doing this like with one weapon every season, and just trying to fix some of the lesser used weapons. So it's going to be going on to the PTR, and I would expect to see some very significant changes to fire staff. When people say they're reworking it, that to me says that they're doing a full change of the skills. So could be good news or bad news for you fire staff users. So season 1, crafting changes. They want to give more control to crafters is what they said. Arcana, they said combining motes didn't feel good, so they're adding more experience to combining motes. Cooking, they're going to change cooking so that you can't just make basic meals to level it. They're going to force you to make all the other shit. So they're just making it harder, basically. An interesting one was bags and tools. So they're going to let you have way more control over your bags and tools and the crafts. So what they said was there's still going to be the gear score, right? So you still have to roll 595 to 600, but you're basically going to be able to pick like 3 out of your 4 perks that you want. If you were to roll a purple, if you get a gold, it's always the lasting consumption perk on bags, or the moat one, like the moat harvest one on tools. So they said it's going to be much more likely that you get exactly what you want if you hit a 600 craft on bags and tools. The game will remember the last materials you used on a craft, so if you're doing a mass craft, you no longer have to go back and reselect every time. I mean, quality of life. You're not going to get iron arrows out of boxes anymore. They'll actually be ori if you're level 60. Um, Another interesting thing they said is they put a dashboard in now so that they can tell what people are picking up out of chests and what they actually use. And things like wooden coins that are worthless, they're now going to give them a use. Like you'll be able to burn wooden coins for charcoal just like wood. Um, these aren't things they need to really be focusing on right now, in my opinion, but that's what they're doing. If you look at a tooltip for an item and you're not sure where to get garlic, it'll tell you, hey, garlic is available in Brightwood or wherever it is, right? Season 2, they've got fishing improvements. They're doing adding bonuses if you use better materials on crafts. So when you do crafts right now, like you can cheese them and just use one of the really good materials and then use all the worst materials and just make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of items to level your proficiency and then open your boxes and get your freedom mods or your shirking fort mods. So they're going to make it more valuable if you use the good materials. Uh, then they went into the roadmap. So summer season, for season 2, they're adding transmog, which I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in. They're doing a seasonal trial, which is basically a 10-person PvE content. They said it's going to be like waves of mobs and then a final mob, so it sounds an awful lot like small invasions for 10 people. Not super excited about that. But then they said they're going to make the sandworm fight a world boss, and they said it's going to be really hard. And they said it's going to be one of those fights where like you don't kill it every time, and they want it to feel really good when you kill it. So expect that one to be hard. They said they're also working on raid groups. There's going to be a new heart rune each season. In fall, they're releasing a big expansion. Um, there's going to be a new weapon. There's going to be a new expedition. There's going to be mounts. They're increasing the gear score that everyone needs, and they're transforming one of the existing zones into a completely new zone as part of the expedition. So it doesn't sound like they're adding a new zone like Brimstone. It sounds like they're going to take one of the low-level areas and basically convert it into the new area. Then season 4, they said trials, the 10-person trials that you do are going to get mutated. You're going to get a trinket that you can power up and make it easier to do the mutated trials. And then they said season territorial control. I have no idea what that means. But that's it. That is the entirety of the dev update. 41 minutes. I got it to you in 13. That's the best I can do. Enjoy your night. Thanks, guys.